What's up, my mothers? It's your girl, Tiffany Nicole. I'm back again with another special guest. Yes, another guest. This guest, she gonna have you laughing, crying, all in one. And then she gonna have you look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what can I improve in my life to do better? I have Tosha Mills with me, everybody. And well, first of all, let's just say she's been on this journey for 17 years of having a child incarcerated. So she can teach us a thing. I'm 4 years in. She has definitely taught me some things. And I'm just so excited to have her on as my guest. I want everyone to enter into this place of having an open heart, an open mind to receive what she's saying. She speaks from love. She's tough love. She'll give you tough love. However, she really genuinely does care about the mothers. And I love her. I am so honored to have her on my podcast. Again, ladies, let's welcome Tosha Mills. Tasha, how you
Thank
feeling?
you. I am good, Tiff. Thank you so much for having me on. And a big shout out to Kate Sheehy for introducing us. Because now we're not only just mothers on this journey, we're friends, we're sisters. There's this sisterhood between us that I'm so glad happened. So thank you, Kate.
Yes, Kate. That's my girl. She is amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kate. You're the best. Truly appreciate you. So this episode, y'all, it's not gonna be like I'm gonna ask her 800 question. We just finna flow because me and her are now girlfriends. We are girlfriends now. We both have male, black young men in prison. So we're just gonna talk about the journey, how she got through. She has a documentary that's coming out. She has a son that's talented. So she has two boys, correct?
Four.
I'm sorry, 4 boys,
And
4,
they're all talented.
all talented. And I may say they all fine, y'all, but I'm just saying, Tasha got some good-looking kids. Bless the Lord.
Thank you, Tiff.
Yeah, so let's just go right in, girlfriend. First, let's just talk about how we first met. Let everybody know like how we first met.
Oh my God. So Kate called me and then you were calling into her. She was like, "Oh my God, I gotta have you meet this fabulous woman, Tiffany. We've been talking about you. So let me just patch her in." So I'm sitting on the toilet, right? And she patches me in. I'm like, okay, okay. So she patches you in, and we just start talking about some personal things. And then we talked about coming on your podcast. I told you absolutely. What I
Mhm.
didn't know was we would meet in a couple of weeks through you setting up this. It was almost like a retreat, something I had done before
Mhm.
in Atlanta. So you had all these mothers from everywhere coming from Atlanta, and it was just a fabulous time.
Yes, and then when we met in Atlanta, it's just like we just clicked.
We clicked.
We
We
clicked
clicked. I
and
was a little abrupt. I mean,
I mean,
that's my personality a little
yeah,
bit. It's
Tasha.
age. It's age. I'm gonna blame it on age, but
But I can handle it though, because I knew it was coming from a place of love though with you. I knew it was all nothing but love though
all
at the
love.
all love. So I know that you genuinely like was looking out for all the mothers, and you didn't know me. You stepped out and you trusted Kate. Kate really didn't know me 'cause she met me on social media. So at the end of the day, you know, it was all God in this. I don't care what nobody say.
Oh
It was
God.
all God.
Oh
Cause like the
God.
way we connected and all the other mothers, and now here we are sharing your story, your journey about having a child incarcerated, and then the things that you're doing. You are like a trailblazer. Let's see here. What did they say? They gave Beyonce a award for being an innovator, right? An innovator is someone that changes the direct the atmosphere of things. And Tasha, that's you. You have
Thank
set the
you, Tiff.
bar so high with you protesting, fighting for women with children incarcerated. Can you share how many mothers that you have helped along this journey of protesting, of helping their children that are incarcerated?
I mean, so many. It's more about the mothers. It's more about what they go through because that's something that we rarely talk about, right? The first thing we hear when a child is incarcerated, or we hear, we're watching the news and we hear this child murdered someone, or it was a home invasion, or they robbed somebody. The first thing we think of are, where are the parents? Where are the mothers? What did they do? Like, they didn't raise these kids right. And I just wanted to bring a different feel to that. So, my son got incarcerated 2008.
Mhm.
um it was a very, very, very hard journey for me. I work in corporate America. I'm a talent agent where I place people in film and TV. But you know what's funny about all this, Tiffany? Everything comes back around. It comes in full effect, right? When I had my son, I was 17, and I always wanted to go to school for broadcast journalism. I always wanted to write. I was a writer, right? Tough getting through those English classes though, right? I'm not the greatest at that, but I'm a great writer. And when my son went to prison, I went through a really, really, really hard time. That's why I can tell a lot of mothers, they call me the prison coach, the mother coach, because I can tell them some of the things of what not to do and what to do because I've been on this journey. But when I first started out, I didn't know a damn thing, right? I didn't
Mhm.
know anything. Like, I was being extorted, not only by, the people in prison, but my son was like calling me saying, "Oh, I need money for this, I need money for that,"
Mhm.
knowing his butt was gambling, knowing he was doing drugs, knowing he was doing things that he had no business doing, right?
Mhm.
And it took a lot for me to really understand that this is prison and these things happen, but I'm not going to enable it anymore, right?
Right.
And so that's what I kind of teach. But when my son got 40 years for 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in Texas. I'm in New Orleans. No gun was ever found.
40 years, ladies. 40 years her son got sentenced. Can you pause on that and explain when you heard that? Because I'm sure you were in the courtroom when the judge said 40 years.
Oh, I was in the courtroom with my grandmother. I collapsed, right?
Mhm.
Because the attorney, the public defender, he had prepared me to take my son home back to New Orleans, on probation, right? And that's what I was thought I was gonna do. I thought we were gonna go to court. It was gonna be adjudicated. He was gonna come home with me, and things were gonna be great, right? I was gonna try to get him some help, some counseling. But the judge said 40 years. I
Mm.
mean, the white judge told my black son in an orange jumpsuit 40 years, right?
Mhm.
And I collapsed. It usually takes me 6 hours to get home from Houston, Texas. It took me 12 hours. It was me and my 83-year-old grandmother in the car.
Mm.
And I stopped. I apologized to every mother that I criticized because I was one of those mothers, right? I was one of those mothers that said, "Where are your kids?" I thought it was my kids were perfect. Like, they went to private school.
God
My
knows how to
son was,
humble us, huh?
uh, does he? Um, my son had been in dance school, ballet, tap, jazz. I'm
Oh,
a talent
wow.
agent. He had been in film and TV. He had did off Broadway plays in New York City. And so I'm thinking, this kid is giving me trouble, but it's gonna be okay because
Because you
I'm
did all
his
because
mom.
yeah, and you invested all these programs and stuff that he was doing.
Right. So when they put me on the stand, the first thing, the prosecutors tore me apart, right?
Mm.
And basically said, "Okay, so we read the pre-sentencing report. He went to private school, all boys private school. He did all of this stuff and it still didn't work. We're suggesting 40 years, 45 years." And the judge said 40. So they tore me apart on the stand, right? And so fast
Oh
forward,
my
not
god.
to, yeah, digress, but I went on my way home. I'm apologizing to all these mothers, saying, God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for criticizing these parents, because here I am. I'm a hardworking mom. I'm home every day helping my kids with homework. I'm married. We didn't have the white picket fence, but we kind of did have the white picket fence without the dog, right?
Right. Oh,
So
you didn't
I'm
have a
thinking,
Marley?
yeah, these things don't happen. Not in my family, not all the things that I'm doing. However, so we're driving home and I'm stopping and I am vomiting. I didn't know what to do. I went home. My son called and he was like, Mom, I'm so sorry, but I can't do 40 years. And now I'm thinking, all I can think about is suicide, what he's going to do. You're coming out of, a house with your own room, and now you're in a 6 by 9 cell and you're going to be eating noodles. When you used to eat roast rice and gravy and turkey wings and gumbo, and now you're
Mhm.
subjected yourself to this. So I went through that crisis. I go home and I take every pill in my medicine cabinet. Every pill. Yeah. Yeah.
Tasha, what?
Yes. I was depressed. It's like, how am I going to face this? How am I going to face the world? You know?
Right. Because
What
at
am I
this
going to do?
time, you're a paralegal at this time, right? Or
I'm a paralegal. I have my own company.
okay.
Um, your
Very
girl
well
was
known
doing
in
it.
yeah, very well
Very
known in
well
your
known in my
community.
community. How am I going to face people, right? And I've projected
Right.
myself and my kids to be like this. And now all of this stuff, the trajectory changed, right? And so um, I called my job and I told my nosy ass boss what happened. Because prior to that, I'm like, oh, we're going to be, when I have to take off to go meet with the attorneys to go to Houston, I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm going to visit colleges with Blake. Line my ass off. He goes in my desk one day, brings me to lunch, and said, where's Blake? How's Blake doing? Da 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 da. And I'm like, Corey, what do you know? Just come out and say it. You know me, Tiff. I'm gonna just call it as I see it. So I called him. He was really upset and just said, take the rest of the week off, in which I did. But I took every pill in my medicine cabinet and I'm in the hospital for a couple of days, right? My three other kids, they didn't know, but eventually I had to tell them Blake would be away for a long time because they were really young. They were, well, not really young, but they were like 10, 12, 14. Like, how do you tell them that your brother's going away for 40 years, right?
So
And
did you sit them
so
down as a family and then
I did. I
what was like
did.
what was their reaction in that moment?
Oh my God. Everybody was crying. They were really depressed. It was just a really hard time. But at the same time, they didn't understand. They didn't understand what incarceration meant or going to prison meant or even going away for a long time. 40 years is like a death. So my brother is going away. So my husband took me to the hospital. I was there for a couple of days, and the doctor walks in and he said, if you don't get it together, you're gonna be dead in a matter of weeks. Right? So I go home and I'm trying to get it together, but I'm crying every day. I'm depressed. I'm getting
Right.
these prison phone calls. It's begging for money. It's like I gotta do what I gotta do. I did what I had to do, but my mom had just died. My marriage was in default. So I was just like, girl, I was just going through it. Like I was
So
going through it.
your son just got sentenced for 40 years. Your mom passed away, going through divorce, and you still have 3 little kids under the
That
age
I
of
have
what,
to take
14
care of.
that you have to take care of. And they're probably in school activities as well, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It
And
was crazy. It was
did,
crazy in the Horn household because I was a
did
Horn.
did you have support in the midst of all of that in that time frame?
I had support, but people really didn't know how to support me, right? Because they had never gone through it. So it was like, what are we supposed to do? Do we stay away? Do we, because we really don't know what to say. And so I want all the mothers to know, when you think people are really backing away from you, it's not because they're judging you. It's just, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to feel.
Mhm.
I haven't been through this before. That's why this right here, Tiffany, and
Mhm.
what you're doing is very important, because you build a community, and you build a community of mothers who understand and who are going through the exact same that you're going through, right? So I went to every bookstore, because again, I'm a writer. I
Right.
journal a lot. I went to every bookstore, and nobody were writing about their kids going to prison. There was nothing.
Nothing.
Facebook wasn't even out, girl. Like, MySpace was out. MySpace
Oh,
was out.
wow.
So it
Wow.
was
Okay,
that long
okay.
ago, right?
Right.
And so there were
Oh,
no group.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
there wasn't anything. And so I'm like, nobody's writing about this. So I just would journal every day, right? I would
Uh-huh.
journal, went through my little divorce, was in my apartment, and just journaling. Every weekend I would go see my son until they moved him umpteen hours away, where I had to fly, and it got hella expensive. So I started dating again. I wind up getting married to someone who lived in New Jersey. So that kind of kept my mind off of a lot, because we had like a 1 year dating, long distance dating history. So
So
I
wait,
would
can you
fly
drop a
there.
nugget? Can you drop a nugget to the ladies who are dating? Did you tell the person that you were dating at that time that your son was incarcerated?
Absolutely, I did.
So do you think the mother should tell someone what do you think about that when dating when you have a
I
child
think
incarcerated?
they should, because you're being honest. Dating is all about honesty.
Okay.
And if there is an honesty there, you have nothing. And
Okay.
so you need that support, right?
Okay.
You're going to need that support from that person that you are dating. So, yeah, off the bat, look, my son is in prison for 40 years. You take it or leave it, right? So you're
Right.
giving them that ultimatum where, look, either you're going to be in with me for the long haul with this,
Right.
or there you go, put your tracking shoes on, right? And so my husband like really helped me. So he moved to New Orleans from New Jersey. He would come to me with visits. Now this is crazy. The
Love some
first time,
John.
yeah, the first time he met Blake, we're behind a glass, right? He's crying. Your son is talented, because Blake started rapping for him. Your son is talented, and I'm like, bro, we don't do this in here. Now you got to understand.
Wait, is
My
he
husband
crying in the prisons or like in the
crying in the
car?
prison. Now you got to understand. My husband is 6'4", a
Yes.
bodyguard,
Yes.
black, real
Yes.
black,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
cry,
He
bro. We don't do this. That's a sign of weakness, right?
yes, he is tall. Ladies, her husband is tall. Like I met her husband. He is tall.
So it's from 2000. Okay, so Blake went in 2008, and 2008, and I met John 2012, right? So now I'm comfortable talking about it, right? And so yeah, so he moved to New Orleans. We got married, he moved to New Orleans, and he was my biggest support system besides my children. So we're, again, I'm a talent agent, as I said. We're in LA, and we're walking the red carpet of Straight Outta Compton at the Staples Center. You know that, Tiff. You're in LA.
Yes, I
The
do.
guy, the guy who played Easy E in Straight Outta Compton, I developed his career. So he and I are walking on the red carpet, and he's like, Tasha, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And I'm like, you sure in the hell wouldn't, because my son should be here. That was my attitude. But you know me.
I do, child. I do know you.
When we left LA, I got on that plane, and I said, I'm going to take every journal that I have and I'm going to compile it into a book. And it's ironic because every time I would see my son, the first thing he would say is, Mama, I should have listened. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to make this out of a play. We're going to do a film. But the name of the book is Mama, I Should Have Listened. And so I told my husband and my kids, I'm like, look, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to be on a breakfast club. I'm going to be speaking all around the country. And John, he don't really know me like that, right? And he's like, yeah, right. I'm like, watch me, watch me. So I wrote the book. I poured my heart into the book. And the book was more for mothers and their sons and daughters that were
Mhm.
incarcerated than anyone. Like I was dropping nuggets. I was telling, I just, it was important for me to let these mothers know that they were not alone. And nobody had written a book about it. So let me do it. And so I wrote the book and it started doing well. I started speaking in churches, women conferences, prisons. I went to Folsom State, San Quentin. um I just started speaking everywhere, and I started teaching creative writing in a prison in New Orleans, and I started doing my thing, and then it kind of, I'm familiar with it now, right? And so I have
Right.
all these mothers like calling me after they saw
Right.
me on a breakfast club. They were like calling saying, can you help me? I'm ready to jump off of a ledge. My child is in prison.
Right.
And so the calls were coming in, the emails were coming in, and I just built my community around that.
So you said a lot. So we're gonna go back. So first, the name of the book again,
Mama, I should have listened, a voice of pain and power.
and we can find it on Amazon, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna do another episode too about that. I was thinking like maybe we could do like maybe like some of the girls in the core eight. Maybe we can read, do like a book club, and we can, digest that.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's a great
yeah.
idea. And then maybe who's to say take it even further? Because that that book's probably gonna help so many people. Because for one, you said you almost committed suicide.
Yep.
And suicide is a real thing because I received two inbox messages from two ladies because I've been trying to contact, and they haven't been responding back to me. And they finally responded back to me saying, Tiffany, I've been in the hospital because I tried to commit suicide. This is a
Wow.
real thing. Um, and I just want to know, in that time frame of you, because committing suicide, you still had three other kids
Yeah.
that were still leaning on mommy,
Yeah.
and then here comes your soon to be, your at the time, John wasn't your husband. Yeah, he was just your boyfriend,
No,
right?
I was still,
Okay.
no, he wasn't, I was still
Yeah.
married.
Okay. So he comes along and he gives you the support. What shifted for you? Be like, you know what? I know you were on the Breakfast Club, but what shifted before you got on the Breakfast Club, before you wrote the book? Like, was it when you left that prison, when you were with your son and with John? Like, what shifted you to like, you know what? Let me pull myself together.
No, 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 no. This was way before John, actually.
Okay.
Blake went to prison 2008. I
Okay.
met John in 2012. I went through a divorce 2011,
Okay.
right? 2010, 11. We were separated for some time.
Okay.
Um, but I just got it together. Like,
But
I was
what
like,
made you get it together? Like, moms, like what made you get it together so they know that if you got it together, that means they can get it together.
I realized that I didn't do this.
Now let's sit in that. Say that
I
again.
didn't, I realized I didn't do this. And so I'm going to take my own life, and I'm embarrassed because of something someone else did,
There
a
you go,
poor
Tasha.
choice.
There you go, Tasha. That's what I
You know
want you
what
to
I
do.
mean?
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
a poor choice, but not only that, Tiffany, um hmm,
Take your time.
he was a
Take your
part
time.
of me. So I questioned myself a lot, even though I didn't make the choice. What did I not do to prevent this? Where did I play a role in this? And so through therapy, because I went through years of therapy, he pulled a lot out of me.
Your therapist.
Um, yes,
Okay.
he actually had been to prison. And when he got out, so he understood me. When he got out,
Oh, that's a good therapist there.
yes, when he got out, he promised his mother that he would go back to college. And so he
Mm.
went back to college and he got his degree, actually, his master's degree. And so I would go downstairs in his basement. That's where he had all his counseling sessions.
Uh-huh.
And he understood me. And so what he did was he made me think. And one of those things he made me think about was my childhood, right?
Okay.
What I had gone through. And I'm like, I had a great childhood. You know,
Right.
I was a little rebellious,
I can see
but
that, Tasha. I can see that.
you can see that. Still rebellious, and I'm over 50. Um, but how were you rebellious? Okay, so I was rebellious because I was dating a drug dealer, you
Mm.
know. Um, I was sheltered as a child, so I didn't know anything about the street. So here I am, I'm dating a drug dealer. He's giving me money. I think, oh, look,
Can't nobody
I'm
tell Tasha nothing because she
you can't tell me nothing. I'm 15, 16. I'm slim. Girl, look, you
we can't
couldn't
tell you nothing now though. I just
long
want to say
hair,
that now.
you couldn't tell me nothing. Nothing. And so I got in my car. I remember this verbatim. What role did I play in this? Because I was rebellious.
Hmm.
You always get one just like you. You know that, right?
Well, I only got one, so
I know. He just like you, Tiff.
okay.
In ways, right?
He is. Definitely
So
like me.
his dad had been to prison, and his dad had been to prison. So it was
Mm.
generational.
Generation. There we go.
And so one day I'm cutting some seasoning. I never forget that because I just pulled my cutting board out, and TD Jakes was on TV, and he
Okay.
talked about that. The
Generational
sins
person.
of
Yep.
of a father will fall down,
Hmm.
generation and generation. So then I started thinking, you know what? The role that I did play, I didn't do my due diligence on him or his family. I didn't realize this could have affected my son. And then I'm looking at my other three kids. They're young, but I didn't see them really going this way. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They all were smart and talented,
Right.
but why didn't they go this way? And why one did, and they're all living in the same household? What happened here? So I started doing a lot of research, scientific research, and I found that the DNA, right? All of our kids' DNA is in their bloodline.
Yep.
And so they're
Yep.
us.
Yep.
They're us. So was this predisposed? I don't know. But he was his father. He
Right.
talked he talked like his father. He looked like his father. Everything was his father. And all the values that I did instill within him, he was still his father, right?
Right.
And so I started researching, just researching. And so I wrote a chapter called Generational versus Environmental, and it's in my book. This is the funniest, craziest thing, Tiffany. And you can look it up. You Google me, you'll see it. There's this in Folsom prison. It's a maximum state prison in California. It's in the Bay Area, right?
Okay.
And they have a book club there.
Okay.
The lady's name is Adrienne Turner, and she read my book. And I remember this verbatimly because, girl, I was on a roll that weekend. They called me to speak at their prison. The guys wanted to talk about the book because they all
Okay.
had read the book in the book club. I left there. I flew back to New Orleans, picked my husband and my son up. I went and spoke at the Breakfast Club, left there and went spoke at John Jay Criminal College, right? Because I was like a regular speaker there in New York City. But what stood out to me was this guy said to me, I spoke to 40 lifers, and he said, Ms. Mills, he
Mm.
said, I never believed in God until I read your generational versus environmental chapter. He said, I never knew my father, but I'm just like him. He said, my father went to prison when I was one. I went to prison when my daughter was one, and she just paroled out of prison. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
That's 3 that
Yes.
we know about.
Yes. And so a lot of the mothers in the group, their fathers aren't in their lives.
Mm.
Their father was in prison. Something in that family dynamic happened, right?
Right?
And so a lot of times people call me harsh, but people don't like to admit when they just put a band-aid on something,
Right?
right? Right?
Okay.
Everybody wants to be the cure of something, but
Mhm.
really they just put the band-aid on it, not knowing that they were kind of the cause of this. And
Mhm.
so, was I the cause of a lot of this? Absolutely. Because if I would have stayed my little narrow ass in my two family household, right? But I wanted to be all hot and go mess with a drug dealer who had been to prison, who wanted me to bring my son to see him behind a glass, which I refused to, but his mother did. I wouldn't be in this situation. I would
You
not have been.
but God gives us grace and mercy though
He gives
sometimes.
us grace and mercy. Tiffany, my son has been in prison 15 years. He ran away to live with his father when this happened. He
Mm.
hasn't seen him one time. And he lives in Houston, where Blake is in Texas. Blake is in Houston now. Not one
And
time.
his dad hasn't came not seen that one time?
No. And he has, I want to say, 6 kids. And his younger brother, who lived with him as well, he's in prison for attempted murder.
Oh my God.
So when you think about all this, right? And not
Right?
saying because I love my kids, Blake was my best friend. I love all my kids the same. But you have these 3 other kids who live in the same household with y'all. They go to college.
Same
They're doing
mama.
it. Same
Yeah.
mom, different dad. They have their
Right.
own dad.
Right.
And this didn't happen. Right? And so
Mhm.
sometimes we got to look at those things. We have to look at what happened here. And
Yeah,
when
and
you go,
sometimes mothers don't wanna
they
sit
don't,
down and look in the mirror and be like, "You know what?
they don't.
Maybe I shoulda had Timmy not get away with all this stuff."
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
yeah, no, because that is a hard because we don't wanna admit that sometimes we failed, and it's okay if we fail as a parent.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
pick I
Yeah.
So, what do you say to mothers who still feel guilty? Because I no longer feel guilty. In the beginning, I felt guilty because I thought well, not I thought, I did spoil Nazir. He was spoiled
Yeah.
rotten. He was my only child.
Yeah.
Um, but I was a tough mama. I didn't let him get away with a lot. Like I nipped things in the bud. But the one thing I could not control is he wanted his father. His father wasn't in his life. And he said, no matter what I did, it wasn't enough because he says, Mom,
No.
you was my
And
mama and I wanted my dad.
and so we overcompensate, right? We
Yes.
overcompensate. We buy things.
Yes,
We
Nikes
give
was
them what
yeah,
they want.
PlayStation.
We're
Yes.
going to give them things that we never had, right?
Correct.
Like, so we're going to make sure that they're okay,
Right.
especially with the ones whose father isn't in their life. So I want to speak to about blended families a little bit.
Go ahead.
Sometimes we overcompensate for that kid, whether he's being bad or good or malicious or rebellious, whatever it may be, because their dad isn't in that house.
Oh,
And
okay.
so what happens is you have the other parent that's trying to chastise that child, but we're looking at, oh, that's not their dad, they're just trying to be mean. So your kids are listening to this, right?
Mhm.
And so now it's like, okay, my mom is right. He is being mean to me. He's favoring his other kids. And it wasn't like that. So I
Mm.
failed a lot because instead of me allowing my kid's father which is Blake's stepfather,
Mhm.
to be a father, I didn't. And so Blake
Mm.
looked at that. So a lot of that plays a part. But in order for you to see that, Tiffany, you got to pull your life apart. You got to sit down and really pull your life apart. And so many mothers, they're not willing to do that work.
Right,
And the
because
only way
yes, you're
that
right.
things are going to get better is them start in prison, is them starting to do that work on themselves.
Yeah.
Say, maybe I was to blame. So it's a redemption, a period.
Well,
And a
not
lot
to
of people,
blame, but not to blame, maybe to hold a little bit of a nugget, but not to take the
to hold yourself accountable a little bit.
yeah,
I had to hold myself accountable, because remember in the beginning, oh, my kids will never go to prison. They won't do this. I give them everything. They're in private school. They're this, they're that. And
right.
then God had to humble me. He put
'Cause
me on the same assembly line as these
yes,
mothers of
yes.
incarcerated parents. But he
No, you're
also
right.
gave me grace and mercy.
Yeah, because when you think about it, because we don't want the mamas to feel like, "Oh, it's all of my fault why Timmy went to prison or Melissa went to
No, no, no.
prison." Yeah, because we do what we can for our children to make the right decision, but sometimes we do sprinkle some of the things that why they went that direction. And like you said,
Absolutely.
we
And
need to
so
hold ourselves. Yeah.
those
Mhm.
things, like myself, we are guilty of.
Yeah,
We are guilty of.
and then you do forgive yourself though, because we don't want you to stay in a place of
No,
guilt.
no, no. You forgive yourself.
Mhm.
First, you forgive yourself. And sometimes it takes going to that child saying, I'm sorry.
There you go. And
I'm
let's just
sorry.
say a lot of Black families do not know how to apologize to their children.
Tiffany, I'm going to correct you. A lot of parents don't know how to apologize, not just
Mm,
Black.
I don't
A
know.
lot of parents don't know how to apologize. And
I
a
would see
lot
my
of,
white girlfriend mama always apologize to her.
I mean, when you get in trouble, they don't
Even
know
when
how to
yeah.
apologize.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So instead of them saying, you know what, I love you and I'm going to walk through this journey with you,
Mhm.
and whatever I've done to contribute to this journey, I'm sorry. That's all it takes.
Mhm.
And you know what? You would really be amazed of the response.
Mhm.
Because I'm going to tell you, in my book, I have a chapter called Letter to Mom, and it's from my son.
I do remember that chapter, yes.
And he writes me a letter and he says, your love was as loyal as St. Charles Avenue, which is like an infamous street in New Orleans,
Mhm.
but there are some things that you missed. And so a lot of parents would have taken it as, you're blaming me, you're blaming me. And I did at first, because I was like, I'm not finishing this book. People are going to read this chapter and be like, she's a horrible mom, right?
Right.
Which I don't care what people think at this point. But I love you, mom. However, there are some things that you miss. There are some things that I was trying to tell you that you didn't adhere to. And so now we're in this position. And now I get 40 years and you divorce this man. So I need you to take a long look at yourself.
Mm.
And that spoke volumes to me.
And therapy also helped you in this, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I would tell anybody get therapy.
You know, I have a thing about life is I think I told you, but I gotta say it again, is like I believe in God and I believe in some good old wine or, prosecco. Um, and I also believe in therapy. Therapy is important. And I also believe meat on the side. And I'm not talking about the meat
Yeah,
on the grill. We're talking about the other meat. I feel that is what gets you through life is therapy, God, and whatever your thing is. It may not be prosecco, it may not be wine, it may be yoga, maybe whatever. And but it's nothing like having a foundation of a therapist telling you, okay, so maybe you need to improve in this area. We're
absolutely.
not here to bash mamas. We're here to help you get through this. It's like the onions. Like we have to get the layers out. Like we got to get the foundation because in order for you to grow, you do got to heal. It's gonna hurt, but you're gonna heal and you're gonna get
and
through
and
this.
and think about peeling that onion. Like when you're chopping
Yes.
that onion, your eyes are burning, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
eventually, when you like get to the middle of that onion, it
It
kind of
dies.
starts to like go
True.
away, right?
Right. Facts.
And so that's life, right? That's life.
Absolutely. Right.
And so God gives all of us a gift, right? My
Yes.
gift happened to now be prison reform,
Yes.
putting my documentary out, advocating, talking to mothers, helping them see the great person that they are in despite of, right?
Yes.
So remember when I was 16, I said I wanted to be a journalist, I wanted to be a writer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything kind of came back full circle because
Mm-hmm.
now I'm doing just what God wanted me to do. And so when I leave this earth, I'm leaving empty because I'm an award-winning author, an
Yes.
award-winning best-selling author, you know.
Yes.
Um I'm a filmmaker now.
Yes.
I'm a writer. I'm doing everything that I wanted to do. What God
Mm-hmm.
promised me when I was 16 years old. Yes,
Yes.
it had to come through tragedy,
The devil
right?
mean it for your bad, but God will make it for your good.
But God knew
God knew.
when He placed tragedy in my home, He knew there
Mm-hmm.
was also talent there. And all
Yes.
this is a byproduct of it. And so I tell all mothers, find the byproduct of this journey, whether you want to go be a counselor, whether you want to protest, whether you want to help another mother, whether you want to, feed the guys in prison, help somebody out with commissary that's less fortunate. There's a part of this journey that God put in your life to get you through something. And a lot of mothers, it's going to go over their head because they're not understanding it. All they know is hurt, hurt, hurt. And I get
Yep.
it. I was there.
Right.
But
Me
come on,
too.
women, we got to step out of this.
We got to
Not
step
just
out of
for
it.
us, for our kids, because our kids are feeling this.
Yes.
When they're in prison, they're feeling this.
Now, let's talk about your documentary. So it's Unheard Voices, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that. So, um, damn, Tasha, you're like really amazing, really amazing. Like, I'm so happy to have you on the show. Like, I really am. So,
Thank you,
you
sis.
have the book and now the Unheard Voices, a documentary series. Tell the mothers about this documentary.
Okay. So we're home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pandemic, home, can't go nowhere, not even to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going through life as we know it.
Stuck in the house.
Stuff happens. I had been everywhere, prison, teaching creative writing, volunteering, going to churches, women conferences. All that was fulfilling. But we're
Mm-hmm.
home and we're watching George Floyd because that was going on during COVID, right?
Yes.
We're stuck and that's all we could watch.
Right.
I see George Floyd on the ground. He's calling for his mother. How do you think all of our boys and girls feel that's sitting behind those bars or the
Mm-hmm.
doors or in the camp? You know, think about how they're feeling. They're all calling for their mothers. Because I don't care what you're going through. Like you said, your son wanted his father, my son wanted his father, something that they can't have. Who are
Mm-hmm.
they going to call for? They're going to beat up on the person who's
The punch
giving them
bag.
the most,
The real
right?
punch bag.
But the
Yep.
person that they can't have, they
Mm-hmm.
get it all.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting home and I'm looking at George Floyd, and my son is a filmmaker and also a fashion photographer. He's home. He lives in New York. And I said to him, I said, Christopher, I want to film a documentary. I want to go. It started off as a passion project. I want to go around the country and I want to talk to mothers, not just Black mothers, not just poor mothers, because there's something about people think, okay, so you're impoverished, you're poor, you come from a certain social economic background, and that's all the people in prison, right?
Right. Yep.
Not true. So I wanted to take a different approach. I wanted mothers who had money, mothers who were educated, immigrants. I wanted mothers from all walks of life. And so I put out a Facebook post and I did just that. April Finney, she has Mothers of Incarcerated Children. She's in our documentary. Amazing story. We
Yes.
flew to New York to interview her. We have Melissa McClendon in our documentary. We flew to Missouri. Dawn Long. Um, we flew to Arkansas to interview her. We had Jennifer Bradley, who has an amazing story, nurse practitioner, have
Mm,
it all, gave her kids everything. Son went to prison. He was killed in prison 3 months before he was due to come home. We have Maria Casados, who's an illegal immigrant. Just love her to death.
mhm.
Her kids are in. She has two kids that are in prison, that she can't even see because she's an illegal immigrant. We're trying to do some great things for her daughter who's graduating from high school. I think next month or either in June. So we have some amazing mothers in
Right.
this Filipina Bishop.
Oh, wow.
Um, we have some. I can't even think of them all because I'm getting um, I'm a little brain fog right now.
Mhm.
But some amazing mothers with some amazing stories that'll
Yeah.
make you laugh or cry.
Yes, I know, and I'm gonna share a clip of the documentary too, on TikTok and the Facebook group so people can see the documentary because I know it's on YouTube, correct?
Yes. So we
Yeah.
went back. We went and we filmed all these mothers. I took everything out of my 401k.
Mm,
Everything. I don't even have a retirement now because I took it all out, and I got a few investors. And it was amazing, Tiffany. We laughed, we cried, we advocated. And so after I did that, I flew them all to New Orleans for a retreat where I had lawyers come in, judges, a mental therapist, um, just speakers to come in from all over to speak to these women. And so we had class for a full day. That Friday night they came in. I put them all up in Airbnbs and they found their rooms by, potato chip bags on their bed of their son's pictures. I had
oh,
special things made for them. And that Friday night, I had a party at a restaurant for them where I brought in a second line band and we just
oh,
welcomed them. Yeah, we picked them up in buses from the airport. The only person that didn't get picked up in a limo bus was April Finney. But she came in because I think she got in late or something, and she was the only one coming in at that time.
okay,
But that Friday night, we went to dinner, had a second line band come in at this amazing music hall, and then Saturday, we were in class all day, and then Saturday night, one of our moms, we had a private chef come in that morning, feed them, had breakfast, crab cakes, all that good stuff. And then Saturday night, one of our mothers, Pamela George,
okay.
I love Pam so much. She's baking pies now. And she
Oh,
always say, Tasha, because of you, now I'm baking pies, in the name of the love of my son. Fabulous. But her husband bought seafood. So we had a big seafood party that night with crabs and shrimp. We had fried chicken and the women danced and he just had amazing time. And then Sunday they went back.
that is beautiful. God is gonna bless you for that. Not your 401k.
Girl,
Oh my God, you gonna get double, like a double portion of
girl,
God
look.
for real.
Now we're in edit mode, right? And
Right.
so now that's a whole nother ball game.
Mhm.
Because that's more money, but it's
Right.
okay because what I want America to know is what we go through as families.
Mhm.
Some of us, in order for our kids to have commissary, we don't put gas in our car, we don't eat, or we
That is
don't go
true.
out for a nice meal, we don't go
Yeah.
to the spa,
We don't go shopping. We
we
don't
don't
go.
go shopping. You
Yeah.
know,
The spot,
when
like you
our
said, the
kids are
spots.
being
Yep.
extorted in prison,
Mhm.
and they need cash apps. I don't do it because I understand the system now,
Right.
but a lot of mothers do. They don't get to live. They don't get to do the things that they enjoy because these are some of the things that they have to do for their children.
Mhm.
America doesn't get it. America doesn't understand to keep my son in a state penitentiary in Texas for 40 years. It's costing them. $37,000 a year. Now you do the math, time 40. In the state of New York for 40 years, it would cost $3.8 million to keep them in there, right? Instead of building rehabilitation programs or, rehabilitating them in some other way, we don't. But not until you start to speak numbers to people, they start to listen.
Right.
And so I spoke on April and we got to speak at an innocence project. And when I tell you there wasn't a dry eye in the place, you get to see that on the documentary as well. When you start to speak numbers to people, especially people of privilege, then
Hmm.
they get it. But until then, it's like, okay, so it'll never happen to me. And when it does, they'll be sitting here like I am right now.
You and me both, because I didn't think it would happen to me. I didn't think I'll be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Never in a million years did I think that I'll be talking about incarceration, mothers, the things that we deal with, the day-to-day
Yeah.
life. It is a struggle. So, with this documentary, you said you have to deal with the edits, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's in editing mode right now.
Mhm.
And so yeah, so that's where we are. And which is taking a while because it's going to be a series. So each
Right.
mother is basically, it's going to be interchangeable,
Okay.
but each mother is basically going to have their own episode. So just think of um, a documentary, I Am the Killer, where each person have their own episode
Uh-huh.
of what they've been through, what, how they got here, their background,
Right.
something like Andre's doing, right?
Okay.
Um, Everybody's going to get to speak. We're going to their backgrounds. We talk about what happened for this child to get here. You see them at baby showers, you see them at parties. So we go back and we kind of document their lifestyle. So you get to see a lot of that.
So, Tasha, your son serving 40 years, and right now
Yes.
he's already served 17, correct?
16.
16.
16. Mm-hmm.
16. So, what do you wanna share with the mothers who, child has the same sentence time as yours? And what would you share with them on how to push through this pain?
Pray, always keep it positive. Encourage them to get into programs. Um, God can open up any cell at any time of the day, right? God can do anything.
Yes, he can.
What bothers me more is I see a lot of women in the groups and they're negative. They
Mhm.
don't want to take the advice. They don't want to
Mhm.
hear, you know, they air out the dirty laundry so other people can see it. That's not what we need. We all need to encourage each other. Another thing, stop sending money through Cash App, Venmo, because whenever you have to send money through Cash App and Venmo,
Mhm.
it's because of drugs, it's because of gambling, it's because of something that they're doing that's just not right. Follow the rules. Follow the rules. And it took me a long time for me to understand that, because my son would call and he would say, okay, so mom, this person is going to buy my commissary because I can't get it. That's not true. You can get your commissary. Follow the rules. I remember one time I was being extorted, and I
Mhm.
had been extorted so many other times, and we have to understand our kids are doing this as well, right? They all play in this game. Until I got fed up and I told the guy, okay, so you want $1,000 from me? It's going to be cheaper to send my son home in a body bag. So do what you have to do. But know that I'm calling the FBI right now. See, these are the games that I play. April plays those same games. And so we don't get this kind of foolishness because we don't feed into it. But when you
Right.
keep feeding into it, the results you're going to get is wow. So put money on their books. Be encouraging. Don't hang up that phone without saying I love you. That's important. Write them. When they call, talk to them. Keep it positive.
Mhm.
Encourage them to go to classes, right? Encourage them. My son won't even ask me to call somebody on three-way because he want to get out of prison that much. And you don't know, those people keep a record of all that. They keep a record of all of that.
Right.
So I don't even call on three-way for anybody anymore. Okay, give me their number. I'll call when I get off this line. But we know we're not doing that. And
Right.
he, no, we're not doing that. When I'm on video visits and I'm only the only one supposed to be on that video visit,
Mhm.
that's it. Because they tell you who else
Yeah,
is
they do
going to
tell
be
you.
on here. Are they a visitor?
Or they'll disconnect the call when they see
They'll
somebody
just
else.
so keep
Yeah.
all that kosher. Like you got to. My son is a pastor in a prison now. He's, he'll make parole in 20 years. I know it. So we got about 4 more to go. But I'm believing God it'll be in another year.
Look at God. Won't he do it? Won't he
Won't he
do
do
it?
it?
Yes, he
Yes.
will. Oh my
Yes.
God. Yes. I love
Yes.
this. Oh my God, Tasha. It's been an honor to have you on the podcast, Locked In with Tiffany Nicole. I am so honored to have you on. I love the words of encouragement that you shared with the mothers, telling your story, your book, your documentary that's coming out soon. Are we going to have a party for that? Because I'll fly in for that.
We're gonna have a big party. And
Okay.
just to see, I ask people to subscribe. Go to our webpage,
Okay.
www.unheardproductions.com. You can see the trailer that's up. And you can read about some of the things that we do. My personal webpage is down. I have to get it back up. But subscribe. Subscribe. And so when the doc does come out, it's we're gonna show the world that we feel, and we we just want y'all to look at it from a different perspective, and that's what documentaries are, for you to see our side of things, for you to see it as a different perspective. And
Right.
sometimes we kind of shut everything off,
We
but
do.
we all know people watch documentaries,
They
and
do.
people watch things that they don't want to go through. So that's why prison documentaries,
That's true.
Love and Lockup, and all that other foolishness, people watch that
They do.
because it's almost like you want to watch stuff, you want to put yourself in those shoes, but you don't want to actually be there,
Right.
and so that's why podcasts like this, they're very important. People watch it.
They
People watch
do.
the prison documentaries and the shows. It's almost like, okay, you're in that body bag, but I don't want to be there with you, so let me figure out how I don't go. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? That's why they watch stuff like that.
I love this. I'm super excited. Now tell people how they can find you on social media. And if you want to get in contact with Tasha, please share your info so people can find you.
So my email is the best way. It's Tasha with an O, Tosha at Tosha Mills, MILLS.com. So it's Tasha at TashaMills.com. I'm on Facebook, Tasha Smith Mills. Um, yeah. And so that's how you get in touch with me. Oh, I have an Instagram, but I'm really not that active. But it's at Mama I Know Better. I Knew Better. Mama I Knew Better. The book is Mama I Should Have Listened.
Find on
Listen,
Amazon.
yeah, listen, send a book to your son. You don't know how many times I get calls from mothers who reach out and they're like, oh my God, I found your number on the internet. I sent my son the book, and my son asked me, Mama, did you write this book? Because this is how I'm feeling. And so, they have all the time in the world to read. So read something positive. Send them
Girl, they
book.
got all the time right now because I sent my son 50 cents book, like Hustle Harder, Smart,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. So he sent me a message and he's like, "Oh my God, mom, this book has changed my life." It's like 50 Cent reminds I 50 Cent has so many, what did he say? Wait, 50 Cent has so many of my ways. I'm like, you mean you have so many of his ways.
Yeah, yeah,
But he was very excited about the book. He's like, Mom, send me more books. So you're right. They do need books to expand their thinking, to expand their mind and exposure. Like we have to expose them to different things. So I'm sending him different books. And I also send him pictures of islands. So him to have a so he can have a vision of what it's like to be free. And then one day, we can go on a cruise or go on a vacation and you could actually visualize yourself
yeah,
being on this
yeah, yeah,
island.
yeah. And
Yeah.
mothers, live your life.
Mhm.
Don't think because they're in there it's
Mhm.
the end of this journey. And I understand because I was there with you. Like when my son first went to prison, I was depressed all the time. I was negative Nancy. I didn't want to do anything. I withdrew, never
Mhm.
was positive. Live your life because that's what they want you to do. They want you to live your life. Don't stop living. Advocate, but
And
live and
let's say if you don't wanna advocate, let's say your child is in prison, but still what? Still live, still
still
pursue.
live
Yeah.
and keep it positive. Send them books. And like I tell the men in prison, dream the painting and wake up and paint the dream. That's my quote.
Say it
Because
one more
dreams
time.
will come true. You just
Right,
have
but
to
you gotta
live them.
s Tosh, that
Dream
need to
the
be a T-shirt.
painting, dream the painting, and wake up and paint the dream every night. And remind not just yourself, but your kids that anything that they dream of, nothing's going to happen overnight. But every morning you wake up and you just start painting that canvas until it's finished. So dream the painting and wake up and paint the dream.
And like you said, sometimes the canvas isn't finished because life is a journey,
Life is a journey,
and it's one day at a time, one step at a time.
one day at a time.
So, mothers, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was an honor, Tasha. Oh my God, I love you and thank you so much for
I
being
love
on this
you more, Tiff.
episode. And mothers, again, find her, get her book on Amazon. Like, Tasha is the real deal, like for real, y'all. She don't play. She'll give it to you in the raw, but she'll love you after she give it to you. She'll tell you come on in and then she'll give you a hug. And that's one thing I completely love about this woman. And she's a woman of God and she is a woman of her word. If she says she gonna be there, she says she gonna do it, she gonna do it for you. She gonna support you, she gonna support you.
That's
This is
right. We're
why
going to
I
do protests. If you call me and say, hey, I need you in North Carolina, I just need, or Timbuktu, and I just need you to hold my hand. I'm here because I get it. I get it. I understand what it's like to not have anybody in that courtroom holding your hand. You know, I
mhm,
get it when none of all your friends they back away because your son's in prison. Again, it's not because your son is in prison, it's because they just don't know what to say. Some of them, right?
mhm.
But I understand. And I'll be here to walk you. Me and Tiffany will be here to walk you. This is an open community. We're all going through something, and we just have to keep it moving and live, and everything's gonna be okay. I promise you. I'm 16 years in, 17. I don't know. Boy, been giving me trouble, girl.
Oh my God, I gotta have you back on the podcast. We gotta come up with something else. Oh my God, I just love this. I just love this. I feel like we're like the dynamic duo together, you and I.
Yeah,
I feel
we
like so
are.
much is gonna happen. Like God is just gonna blow our mind. Um, you guys, again, it's your girl Tiffany Nicole. We have Tosha Mills with us, and again, I appreciate you so much, Tasha, and thank you so much for being on the
Thank you,
podcast.
Tiff.
Mothers, I don't care how bad it gets. Still believe and trust God. The process. The process is no
Trust the
joke,
process.
but God is with us every step. And there's a reason for this pain. I don't know the reason because I'm not a prophet, but I know there's something on the other side of this journey of having a child incarcerated. Y'all be blessed and we love you.